Ladies and gentlemen, our first plenary session of today's event is Climate Action, a prerequisite to worker well-being and the sustainability of the fashion industry. I would like to request Mr. Sabir Hossain Chaudhry, MP, Chairman, Parliament Standing Committee on Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Her Excellency, Ms. Alexandra Berg von Linde, Honorable Ambassador, Embassy of Sweden in Bangladesh, Mr. Ziaur Rahman, Regional Country Manager, Production, Bangladesh, Pakistan and Africa of H&M, Dr. Salimul Haq, Director, ICC CAD, Professor of IUB, Mr. Paul Wright, Group Executive Director of ESG PDS Group, Ms. Noreen Chaudhry, Head of Labor Rights Program, Laudes Foundation, Ms. Bernadette Blom, Director of Good Fashion Fund of Netherlands, and Dr. Shahriar Mahmood, Chief Sustainability Officer of Spinnova PLC Finland, to please come up on stage to take their seats on the dais. I would also like to request Mr. Morten Lehmann, CEO and founder of Tailwind, to please come up and moderate this session.
My name is Morten Lehmann. It's a big honor to be moderating this amazing session. And before we get started, while you sit down, I just want to say a big thanks to the team behind this event, Bangladesh Apparel Exchange. It's absolutely amazing to be in this room yesterday, see what it looked like, to come in here today and see all of this, and everything you have with you on the screen is, I think, well done. So just a big hand of applause for me to the whole team that's behind this conference here today. They've done an absolutely amazing job. So in this session, we will be discussing climate change and its effect on worker well-being. So it's a topic that until now, until the last couple of years, we've dealt with climate change, worker building, isolated in silos. But more recently, we found out that it's very important to talk about how climate change is related to worker well-being. And that is the challenge and the issue we'll be tackling today. I have with me an amazing panel that can discuss this topic from very different angles as different stakeholders. But before we get started, I want to give the microphone over to the honorary Mr. Sabir Chaudhry, Member of Parliament, to address us and set the scene on the importance of climate change, climate risks, and worker well-being. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Morten. Assalamu alaikum and good morning. I have to my left very renowned panelists, so I will not go into introducing all of them. So I would just say all protocols observed. I don't have a written speech or a presentation to make to you, but what I thought I would do is just share a few thoughts with regard to the defining challenge of climate change that not just Bangladesh, but the world as a whole faces today. We see climate change as an existential threat to the lives and livelihoods of people in Bangladesh. So when you look at it and you frame the issue in terms of an existential threat, you can see and easily imagine the impact that it has on the health and well-being and livelihood of workers in particular. And we know, and earlier this morning we have heard about how critical and how central workers are in this whole discourse, and ensuring fair wages for them, ensuring good living conditions. And we have seen from a number of reports, whether it is the Lancet report, which talks about the relationship between climate change and health, the productivity loss, the heat impacts, we know the river erosion. So whether it is the workers themselves being directly impacted or their families, I think this is, of course, one of our biggest challenges. So when we look at sustainability, climate change, of course, is one aspect of many which seriously threatens to undermine this. And in the Bangladesh Parliament, we have taken a resolution where we talk not just about the existential threat of climate change, we also talk about the intensity and frequency of natural disasters. We talk about water stress, given that the glacial melt in the Himalayas is far more than it's ever been. We talk about food security, biodiversity loss. So all of these are having an overall impact on the economy of Bangladesh. So I think this discussion is very timely. I thank Mustafiddin for this initiative, and we hope that the recommendations that will come from it will allow us to at least ask the right questions when we try and find answers. One point I would like to mention in particular is how we look at sustainability. And we have heard this morning we can look at it through the lens of environment, through the lens of the impact it has on the economy. The other very fundamental question, and I hope this forum is going to address that, is sustainability in terms of prices. Sustainability in terms of prices that our government exporters receive for their products. Based on various studies I've seen, our exporters probably receive about anything from 17 to 20%. The rest 80% is lost in intermediate layers. So how can we talk about sustainability of the fashion industry when the basic concept of pricing and how that price is distributed is not addressed? If we don't do that, then conditions in Bangladesh will not improve to the extent we want them to improve. And it creates globally a dog-eat-dog world because one party will look at their gain and we don't look at the overall picture. So I hope this also, Morten, is going to be an issue that is going to be discussed. I wish you all excellent deliberations. I am sorry I will not be able to be here to hear all of the discourses and discussions. I'm excited about the sustainability and circular economy initiative that is going to take place in June, and hopefully I'll see you I see all of you then. So have a great conference and good day. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, Chiroj Bihok Bangladesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for setting the scene. So before we start with all the panelists, I want to let you all know that we also want to hear from you. We have a lot of knowledge here, but also we know we have a lot of knowledge in the room. So be prepared, listen to what they say, because we will be asking you a question in around 20 more minutes. So scan this code, be prepared to answer a question so that we can also get your input to this important discussion. So, to get us started, we'll ask Your Excellency, the Ambassador to Sweden. Can you tell us a bit about what Sweden does in terms of working with both the human rights, the social aspects, and the environmental side in the RMG sector?
Certainly, Morten. Thanks for having me here today at this very dynamic and interesting event. I think it's fair to say that sustainability has been high on the agenda of Sweden for many years, both from a government perspective, but also from a company and business perspective. This is also a clear priority for Sweden as we now have taken over the EU presidency from January this year. So sustainability and the green transition is a key priority for us. We have heard many definitions of how we work with sustainability here this morning. And from the Swedish perspective, we really see it as a holistic approach. And what do I mean with that? Well, for us, social, economic, and environmental sustainability go hand in hand. And you cannot really look at these areas in a silo. Our experience is that what we have done during many years now is cultivate economic growth through a social and environmental sustainable manner. If we see a bit of this environmental sustainability point of view, there are mainly two mechanisms that we work with. One is, of course, the climate financing mechanism, and the other one is the technological know-how that Swedish green tech companies have. From a policy perspective, we recently announced a doubling of our climate support to 15 billion Swedish crowns by 2025. And some of that includes, but it's not limited to, helping countries to implement a green transition in different industries, then including the fashion industry. We are big supporters per capita to, for instance, the Global Environmental Facility and the Green Climate Fund. And while this is important, and while it is important to reduce existing emissions in the fashion industry, it's also important to look at the emission from a capturing what is already there point of view. And that's where green tech, the development of green technology comes in really. Despite our humble size, we consistently rank on the top of most innovative countries. And the reason we do that is that we invest a lot in research and development, also when it comes to these areas. Given the importance that we have in the fashion industry and in the RMG industry here in Bangladesh, not least with the substantial Swedish presence of Swedish fashion brands, last year we launched our sustainable fashion platform. So this is a little bit of our flagship initiative to try to gather and focus our efforts of supporting Bangladesh to do a green transition within the RMG industry. So we have some of our biggest brands included in this platform. And the purpose is twofold, really. The first one is to try to bring in Swedish green tech competence and know-how to help the suppliers and support them in the green transition and in making RMG more sustainable. And the second thing is to have a comprehensive dialogue with Bangladesh and the Bangladeshi stakeholders about the policy reforms that need to take place in order for this to happen. So that's on the environment sustainability side. The other part of it is of course social sustainability. And from a Swedish perspective, we have been involved in the decent work agenda for many years now. At the moment, Sweden and other EU member states are engaged in evolving a program to support Bangladesh commitment under the decent work agenda. So we have a target that by 2026 there will be an improved policies and laws, a more accountable labor market, institutions and sustainable business practices in place within this program. But as I said from the beginning, and this I will soon stop, environment and social sustainability for us go hand in hand. So some of the things that we also do is to try to engage and develop the RMG workers in skills training. Given the automatization and the digitalization that the RMG industry will have to go through in order to do a green transition, we think that this specific part of actually preparing the RMG workers for this process is of immense importance. So we have different programs and projects that we also do to increase the skills of above all female garment workers to this end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. So over to one of the brands who's present here today, Mr. Sayur Rahman. You're the Regional Country Manager of Production from H&M. Can you tell us a bit about H&M works with this linking climate with worker welfare, and also your guidance to the people in this room? How should they approach this?
Thank you so much. As Our Excellency's Ambassador says, it's a dynamic event. It's truly a dynamic event and really meaningful because the discussion and the summary of this, I see even in earlier event also the government and the policymaker take it very seriously. So truly an honor to be here. And thanks to Mr. Mustafiz, I don't know where he is, for arranging it over and over. Good. To answer your questions, I think as a large buyer in Bangladesh, we recognize our responsibility, and we can't just do it by ourselves alone. So that's why we usually tag with our other brands. And I have seen a lot of European and also American brands also, where the vision and mission goes, align together. We usually tag together and work it actually for it. Sustainability is a word, I think it's not a word anymore, because it becoming a sourcing decision, an integrated part of that, because the platform that we have in our supply chain, if it is really sustainable, it is a particular, we've gone through really a lot of process with that. So that create, you're okay, all right. So this is how we actually source it. But at this moment, I think this climate change, this is not a buzzing word anymore, because as a part of this, this Paris Agreement that we have signed together with a lot of other people as well, we really put those as a condition for our sourcing. And one of the big sourcing destination in Bangladesh, we really practice it here. This, I must say here, the legislation is coming up in Europe. This is very, very important. It's no more that how we produce it here, because it's not a garments anymore. How it has an impact on the climate, how carbon intense it is. The Europe will verify that. And whether the garments has any recycled materials or not. That will be calculated, it will be tagged to the garments. So this is, it looks like, it was almost like a myth a couple of years ago, but now it's happening. We will have a tag in the garment saying this much carbon emission happens for this, and a certain company doing this and this and that. I think that become one of the biggest challenges in front of us in our supply chain, and it's not a problem that we cannot solve alone. And that's why we say that originally we work with others, because together then we do it. And Bangladesh, this journey, if you see last 40 years, is an incredible journey. So I'm sure that if we work together with the new innovations and others, the future is ours. But I think, because I would say that we have the true mentality, the right mentality here. I will stop it here if you have any other questions later.
Thank you very much. It's a good place to stop. The future is ours. Paul Wright, you have a title of Group Executive Director ESG from the PDS Group. As an ESG Director, Environmental, Social and Governance Director, can you talk a little bit about how the sometimes less prioritized S for social works hand in hand with your work on the E on environmental?
Thanks, Morten. I think I've got this saying that there is no E without the S, and if I could rewind the clock 10, 15 years when someone developed this title, ESG, I would change it to SEG. You can't claim sustainable product when people have been compromised or it's been made in a facility that you wouldn't be proud to stand in. And I've read articles about online retailers where the claim is that they're the most sustainable brand in the world, but they probably wouldn't allow you to stand in any of their factories. So the two go hand in hand, and actually the S should become before the E. You can't have one without the other. I think the challenge for our industry is that actually we're facing a massive change, but the way that we procure, the way that we think about how we develop product, we're still not changing, but all the solutions are out there. If I look at how we develop products within our industry, actually, it was taken from the blueprint from how M&S did things 20, 30 years ago, and we're still doing the same, still carrying out the same ways of working. So we're not developing and changing the way that we work. The way that we forecast needs to change. So we're moving away from famine and feast. This is having a really negative effect on worker well-being, and we touched on what is the impact on workers. Well, we're moving from excessive working hours to kind of little or no work, and actually a race to the bottom again in terms of what prices Bangladeshi factories have to accept because there's no work. So we have to move away from this short-term view to actually a longer-term view, and we can no longer forecast what the future is going to be. I don't think we know what's going to happen next week, let alone in 6 months, and we have to adopt digital product development, shorten the lead times, but work hand in hand. And I think with that as well, when I move back to long-term, we need to maintain long-term working relationships we're suppliers. So my ask of brands and retailers is actually they don't take a 6-month view of who gets that order. They take a 6-year view. And with that, then to meet all the challenges around legislation and traceability, you can do that. So at the moment, as an industry, what we're saying is we couldn't possibly trace all this product and where it's come from. Why can't we do that? Because every 6 months, we're changing where we buy the product from. So as an ethical team and as a sustainability team, you're having to restart that work every 6 months, and it's virtually impossible. So I think those are some of the challenges that we face. I think Bangladesh, if I compare where we were in terms of social compliance 15, 20 years ago, my big call out to Bangladesh is the brands and retailers filled the space and the vacuum that was left by Bangladesh and this industry. Don't allow them to do that again. You've got a strong position, you've taken a strong start, build on that and actually own the topic.
I couldn't have done that much better. Thank you very much. We've now heard from brands, manufacturers, but sometimes we forget that we have this very long value chain and it starts before that. So I'm very happy to have with me also Sharira Mahmood, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of Spinnova. So can you tell us a bit from your point of view as an innovator, as a fiber producer, why is this important?
Great. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here, and thanks again to Mustafiz bhai. It's been pleasure to get introduced with him and see his initiatives here, how he is driving the sustainability in the apparel industry in Bangladesh. Maybe before I answering that question, I would like to little bit get you know that what Spinnova is and what is about the innovation. We know that in the cellulose domain, there are a lot of innovation in the fiber level. We have seen that actually there are a lot of cellulosic fibers around in the globe. But where Spinnova stands out of those are through the innovation itself. We know the cellulosic fibers are produced in a very chemical way with very high intensive chemical processes. But Spinnova produces or invented a technology to produce the cellulosic fiber completely mechanically. So we take the same raw material, let's say wood pulp, and produce the fiber in a very mechanical way. It's almost biomimicking how the spider is producing their fiber or the web. In the spider there are the dope, and when it's coming out, it's basically a fiber. So in case of Spinnova, it's also the same, that we take a dope of cellulose that made out of wood pulp, and when it is coming out of the nozzle, it's basically a fiber ready. Which means that we do not have any water process. We do not have to use any chemical in the process. We do not need to use any other thing than heating up that little water we have in the solution. It means we get only the fiber. What we put in, we are getting out as a fiber. It means it's 100% waste-free process. And we are proud also to share that the production unit to be operated in no time. So I have been asked by Morten to share something related to well-being and of course the worker safety, health and safety in the value chain whole, where it has some connection and impact. I believe that it can be taken from the end-to-end approach. So when we talk about the raw material that we are using, we basically try to get only the, let's say, FSC or PFC certified raw material. It means that in the value chain from where you are getting raw material, it's completely, you can track back. And then of course in Spinnova's process, the fiber making process itself is, it's a completely chemical free process. It means that the workers' safety is very much there. And also if we think about the physical safety, that's also, it's a fully closed process, it means that there is a very less chance to be happening something on the physical manner also. Then if we go further, in the product level, because ultimately it will be touching the consumer, and then the consumer health and safety is also very much related there. As Spinnova, we have seen from the formulation point of view, we do not modify anything chemically. It means that the originality of the cellulose, it means what you're getting from the tree, it's retaining in the fiber. It's a very pure fiber, which means that when we produce the fiber, a product, eventually, it actually keeps all these kind of things. Let's say if there is a chemical process to produce the fiber, there are traces of chemicals, harmful substances, but in case of Spinnova, there are no such. So, well, all in all, we are still in a very early stage, about to scale up our productions and so on, but I think there are a lot to give with this innovation. And that will be eventually better for the whole chain, end to end. And of course, very important to mention that the fiber itself is biodegradable and microplastic free, as this is cellulosic product. So I think I really see that all the sustainability aspect that should have in a product is in Spinnova fiber.
Amazing. And now for our next speaker, I'm excited about all of you, but over the last 10 years, what has excited me the most is that for some years it looked like we were navigating all these challenges a bit blindfolded, but we are starting more and more to actually listen to scientists. So for that reason, I am very happy to have on this panel Dr. Salamul Hook, Director, ICCAD, Professor, Independent University of Bangladesh. So what does science actually tell us on this link between climate change and worker well-being?
Thank you very much, Martin, and good morning to everybody. So I'm very glad to see, and congratulations to Mustafiz for organizing this event and this panel on climate change. I remember years ago telling him that this is something that will have to be done, and I'm very glad that he's doing it and that we have a really informed discussion going forward here and hopefully out of this conference. So I'll just give you three messages from the scientific community, if you like. One at the global level, one at the national level, and then one at the individual level as well. At the global level, I'm afraid we have bad news. Climate change is happening. It's affecting every country in the world. And in the near term, we can't do much about it. In the long term, we can prevent even worse happening, but bad is locked in. Bad is going to happen. And unfortunately for us here in Bangladesh, we happen to be placed in the part of the world where it's going to be very bad. And we have to be prepared for that. Now, the good news is we know that. We've known that for some time. The government of Bangladesh has been taking this very seriously, has been developing national plans. Most recently, we have something called the Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan, where the government of Bangladesh has invested with the scientists in looking at how Bangladesh can not just cope with the impacts of climate change, but prosper despite those impacts of climate change. And a very important part of that message is the role of the private sector in learning how to do that. Business as usual is not going to work. Business as usual will suffer the impacts of climate change. But if you can change business as usual and become more sustainable, more circular, you're learning all the words now, you need to be able to practice them, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that is an important part that I will advise everybody here, particularly the industry leaders and the industry decision makers. You need to understand this new phenomena of climate change and environmental issues. We just heard about a number of them. I won't repeat that. But you're going to have to change the way you work. You're going to have to do this not necessarily because it's profitable right now. It may not be profitable now, but in the longer run, it will be. And I would argue that the reason for you to do this is for your own children and for your own families. It's the right thing to do. That's why you should do it. Profits will follow. They may not come today, but they will come tomorrow. And if you work together strategically, then you will be able to definitely capitalize on that. And let me end by just offering support from my center. We're a research institute working on environment and climate. We are very happy to reach out and work with all of you who are interested in making sure that you not just learn the words and parrot them and claim to be doing things, but actually do them in practice. Very big difference between saying you're doing something and actually doing it. You don't want to be accused of greenwash. We can help you do that. We can help you build your knowledge and capacity to actually deliver on doing the right kind of things, which now everybody is realizing and talking about. We need to take the next step to actually deliver on it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So over to you, Noreen Chowdhury. The Loudest Foundation is working with these issues we know. Can you give some advice to all of us on how do this just transition happen so that we benefit also workers?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be part of this eminent panel with excellencies, industry leaders, Zia Bhai. And, this panel represents certain facets of the piece. What are the bilateral agencies doing? Who's unlocking finance? We can look towards Bernadette. And it's a pleasure to share the panel with Dr. Salim Ul Haq, who recently got an OBE from the Prince of Wales. So it just shows that he started talking about these topics before it became cool. And it's lovely to be part of the generation that is going to find the solutions. I think there's immense outrage, but there's also optimism. And events such as this unlock not just the intellectual capital, but the resources needed to position the dialogue in the right place and also find the solutions. So just a little spiel. As a philanthropic foundation, we see value not only in the resources we can bring to the table, but also our ability to experiment, build the field, connect unlikely allies and coalition. Bangladesh is the 7th most vulnerable country in the world. Just transition is a lived reality every day. We address this challenge by ensuring that workers have a just transition to a climate-positive, inclusive economy, including social protection for workers, promoting incentives for accountability in line with what Dr. Haq said, including transparency and regulatory mechanisms. I think that was discussed in the panel earlier today, and promoting collective action, collaborative voices, the agency of workers and communities and the organizations that support them. Already we're seeing that we're building the capacity of worker-led organizations such as Awaj and Bangladesh Center for Worker Solidarity to really identify the what's in it for me. As a garment worker, climate change, really, do I know what just transition means? Yet my future is being discussed, debated, planned 30,000 miles away. So we need to really hunker down and socialize the concepts so that the terminology is not divisive. Workers understand where they can play a role, and they have a role to play. They're part of the negotiations, the design, the implementation, and the policy. Someone once told me this last week, and I think this individual is on this panel, and I'll quote this person. It is not our job or role to bring in the solutions. It is our job and responsibility to provide the tools, networks, resources for the impacted communities. They can find their own solutions. We are just a proxy towards that process. Thank you for giving me this.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Finally, Bernadette Bloem, Director of the Good Fashion Fund from the Netherlands. So what's the role of funds and the work you're doing for creating more systemic solutions to this issue?
Thank you. Very pleased to be here. And thank you very much, Mr. Mostavic, for organizing this interesting forum, bringing together many stakeholders. Today I'm going to talk about Good Fashion Fund. Good Fashion Fund is an initiative of the Lawless Foundation, and it was established to create a systemic change in the apparel and textile industry by financing impactful technologies and connecting them to manufacturers in Bangladesh and in India. So very happy to be in Bangladesh this week, actually. And we connect impact technologies to manufacturers to generate significant and measurable environmental impact. So we work with the manufacturers to make them more sustainable. And I mean, for instance, closed loop manufacturing, but also cleaner and lesser energy use in the production process, recyclable and safer materials, but also fair jobs and growth. They are all equally important. So what does the Good Fashion Fund provide? We provide long-term US dollar loans, so it's debt financing to implement this technology. But we take a holistic approach. And what I mean with a holistic approach is that although we finance environmental impact technology, we also look at the social side of the manufacturer. So we have a thorough due diligence process. We work with expert partners in the field of environmental and social. And for instance, we look at the workers' health and safety, at their rights, but also we jointly with the manufacturer really work on developing a so-called social action plan that's implemented during the term of our loan, where we support the manufacturer where we can to improve on these elements. So it's really a joint cooperation. Very happy to say that we signed our first transaction in Bangladesh and are about to sign the second one. And we're looking very much forward to expand our outreach in the coming period in Bangladesh. So we're actively looking at that. And well, please, if you're interested to find out more about the Good Fashion Fund, come and see me, because I'm here together with my colleague the whole day. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, all of us. So now it's up to you, all of you, to pick up your phones, scan this, and answer the question. And the question is an attempt to, as what also said, we talked about climate risk for many years as a thing of the future. It will be a thing of the future, but it's also very much a thing of the present. We're feeling it in Bangladesh, the rest of the world. So what are the tangible solutions that we can implement right here and right now? So I kindly ask you to look at the question, think and look at it, and tell us what you think is the most appropriate solution to handling this problem in the right here and now. And hopefully soon on the screen we'll see the results as they pop up with your voting. Sentence, what should be done right now and here? If anybody, if we have time. So the question is, where do you see the biggest potential in making sure that climate change does not risk worker well-being in the short, medium term? So right now we have, seems like we have a winner. Ooh, maybe the number two is gaining. No. I think it looks like a clear winner. So the number one answer so far is developing workplace climate adaptation plans that identifies risks and vulnerabilities. Any comments from the floor? If you were given the mic, and you could take the mic, and answer, so what should we all be focusing on right now on this big question on making sure that actually the climate risks that we're facing right here now actually can be mitigated for worker well-being? Do you agree? Is it number one, or any other ideas what should happen?
I don't think I'm going to be so concrete on this one, but when I looked at the answers to this question, my thought went to a quote that my colleague, the EU ambassador, had this morning, a beautiful quote that said something along the lines of, "No one can do everything, but we can all do something." So looking at the answers, my reflection would be that, this is a multi-stakeholder approach where we really need the vested interest of all of us in this room. So I'm not sure that I would agree that there is a one option, right answer to this issue, but rather, the holistic view or the holistic approach that we have been speaking to goes also for this question.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you what my message from this is. You have a very high level of awareness of what needs to be done. Now we need to do it. And doing it is more than just putting solar panels on your roofs. That's the easy bit. What you have to do is to build your own knowledge, build the knowledge and skills of your workers and all your partners that you work with. So it's a knowledge-based proposal of dealing with this problem. It's not just a simple bring something in and fix it. And I'm very happy to work with you to make that happen. Thank you.
I think within leadership, a new word is popping up called solutionism, which you want to avoid, because that's jumping to the immediate solution just to do something. So we have to understand what are the root causes of the problems and gain that knowledge and then walk the talk. So you hear the bell, but there's still time to any final word of advice to the audience.
Thank you. So I think it's important, and we will take our part in that to indeed share lessons learned. We are all, it's a multi-stakeholder approach. I completely agree, a holistic approach. But we should also share our successes and also, what's not working. So I think that's important.
I totally agree. It's for good reasons we focus on all the challenges, but I think it is very important also to show all the inspiring stories out there, to make the people who find it just too hard and sit there and it's apathy, it's difficult, but we need to have those good stories out there to inspire others to follow through. Noreen?
I thought somebody's asking. Now, I didn't mention about the circularity, and I can't resist to talk about it, because this is this clear business case. Because, making a waste to giving a life, and it's and not only the second life, also you use less resources and reuse your kind of the earlier product. And it's a clear business case. And I think this is where it has an impact with that, because quite soon we claim the fashion industry that it goes to the landfill. Instead of going to the landfill, you make it another resources, And we actively, as I said earlier, that and I will borrow your quote again, that our EU delegation head says that, we cannot do alone anything, but together we can do something definitely. And we are together with other brands. We're working together, that what can I do? But one of the major area that we see that legislation is something that we really need to overcome, and we are doing advocacy. So that's one thing. I want to remind a little bit, as I can see we still have a little bit of over 2 minutes. In the energy sector, we still have a lot of things to do. We've been talking last couple of months also regarding the PPA, virtual PPA. It sounds a little bit fancy in Bangladesh at this moment, but if the moment you go to India, they've been doing it for a very while, a lot of, quite some time, and it's a success already a sector as well. The renewable energy price gone even cheaper than the coal and other energy. So you see that how the game changes. So I think it's the beginning. We are a little bit late probably in many extent, but as I said earlier, that the future is ours, because the resilience and other that you have this entrepreneur of this industry, and I'm a Bangladeshi, so I know that I'm born and brought up here. So hats off to our entrepreneurs. I think the future is ours. We just need to work collectively. And there are some low-hanging opportunities. Let's not blame it, rather, how can you achieve it together? So, yeah, thank you so much for giving the opportunity. And again, congratulations to Mustafiz to bring everyone in this room, talking really good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Noreen, final word?
Sure, I'll keep it very short and quick. I think as we're transitioning and striving towards a net zero pathway, it's important to, someone once told me, be mindful of the cost of success. And the cost of success is there will be workers and industries that are no longer profitable or sustainable. And as a just transition pathway, we need to start discussing on making sure that those individuals are not left behind and they're part of the sustainability pathway that we're trying to bring ourselves on this journey along. Thank you.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, we need to stop kicking the can down the road. Signing up to a net zero target by 2050 is really easy. So what I would like to see is that carbon targets are embedded into commercial teams, KPIs, and that's where we'll start to see real change.
Amazing. And I think also, how do you measure success? Do you measure success in the same way you have done? Or do you need to look at a success that is actually compatible with the future we're seeing in terms of climate change, biodiversity change, that then can take Bangladesh into the future? Thank you very much, esteemed panelists.
Thank you so much.